Yes, he
From
does.
Israel.
He does. So that's exciting. Unfortunately, I think he's not around when like Megan needs him, but Yom HaShoah, he'll take my place while I'm running around getting ready for Yom HaShoah. So that'll be a great way for him to. And then he wanted to be a Yom HaShoah, so it worked out perfect. Taking pictures. Anyway, it's gonna work out great. Hi, we're not late. We heard you outside. Oh, I'm getting in there actually. But yes, you were not late. They'll get back. No, the reason I did it is you transfer the flame tonight, so not you don't do the normal. Oh, somebody snuck in, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Hey. Both of you, stop acting like children.
All right, we're going to get moving. Minion or no minion, we're going to let God know we're here, as they say. Or we're just going to pray. Or lots of things. Because it's as much important that we hear. None of the above, but I'm saying that God will hear that. Put the microphone off. Drown him out. I'm ready. I don't know if we'll get our. This is one of the, we did not unfortunately get our Yontif minion, we tried, but this is also one of the hardest Shabbatot to get Friday night. Everybody's had seders, they're tired.
Yeah.
Friday, those who went back to work for the holiday are tired, people are traveling, some of the normal people are away. Everybody. How many normal people? Oh, see, like normal people. I said normal people and in walked Mindy. How? Mindy, I said normal people and you walked in. I must be the most normal one. I don't know. But the universe must think you are. So you're fashionably late. Fashionably late.
Uh-oh.
Find it? Yeah. Oh, you did. That was the next question. Because I would guess if you're here and if you didn't find it, you would not be here. That would be my guess. All right. Well, we're going to get going. We have a we're moving from Yom Tov, from the holiday, the first 2 days of the festival, to our Shabbat, which is Shabbat Chol HaMoed, Shabbat of the normal Shabbat. That's in the there's always going to be a Shabbat somehow in our holiday. Last year, if you remember, do you remember when Passover started last year? Friday. No, it was actually Saturday. Saturday night, which is extremely difficult. So we had our Seder on Sunday night because it was so hard, and not because you can cook on the holiday, those kind of things, but not on Shabbat. So you figure all that out. But we started, so our Shabbat was the first day of, or it was not, it was coming in. Our last day of the holiday, basically, was the weekend following. So, but today we are moving from the first 2 days of the festival to Shabbat. So I need a volunteer to do the Shabbat of the candles. But the reason they're lit, you saw me walk down the hall with them here. The tradition is we don't strike the match because we're going from a holiday to a festival, right? A festival day, not just the middle days, but the festival day, right? Which is kind of like a Shabbat to Shabbat. And so we transfer a flame. That's the custom, is to transfer, not to strike the match, but to transfer. And since we are blessed with a gas stove that has a pilot, that is as good as a 24, 48 hour, 78, whatever hour source that you might have, like a candle. Some people light, a 24-hour candle or a 48-hour candle, something to keep it going, and use it that way. But so that's the beauty of having a gas oven or a gas stove, as we do here. So, do I have any volunteers? That's the long and the short of it. I wanted you to know why I was walking down the aisle. All right, girls, let's go. Linda, you want to help them? You're one of our Sunday school teachers. We'll give you the. Well, there's lots of. We can follow nice Hanukkah, or we can do the. Or you can just say.
Match it.
Put the pressure on.
All
right.
This is the right. I'm in the middle. I feel good. Okay.
As we rise and we light the candles together. Yes, we still do that. It is a normal, regular Shabbat. We're just kind of transitioning from those first few days of Passover to our Shabbat. Asher kitshana b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Very nice. Shabbat shalom. Thank you. Now, here's the next big difference here, is that our Shabbat service is a little shorter than usual. It doesn't contain all of the same kind of things that we do because we are already, I guess tradition feels we're already in the mood. We're already kind of in the Shabbat spirit, having been with the holiday. And so we will begin when it'll seem a little short. So when you ask, why is it so short, Rabbi? That's why. Traditionally, let me see what it says here. It even says begin with Mizmor Shir, begin with the psalm for Shabbat, and then go forward. But we're going to do a little more than that. On page, 5, you will find Shalom Aleichem as we join together. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu Ni l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeitchem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom,
Malachei Elyon. Mi melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Kindly turn forward. This is where we skip a lot since we don't do all of Kabbalat Shabbat. But we can do always a song. Let's do page 14 by the arrow. Yismechu Hashamayim. We join together. Yismechu Hashamayim, Hashamayim. Yismechu Hashamayim, Hashamayim. Yismechu Hashamayim. V'tagel haaretz, Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, umelo, Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, umelo. If you'll kindly turn forward to page 23, L'chadodi. We don't do our full L'chadodi hymn, but I always love to do the short one. Gives the chance when we don't do a full one that we get a nice little short one that's kind of reflects the idea of the Shabbat bride or queen walking into our midst. Again, this makes sense because we're already in that festive idea, right? So the idea is Shabbat's already, walked in, right? No, we don't open the door, actually. Yeah, I know. It's kind of fun. It's different. You get to sit down tonight. But it goes like this. And if you don't know this one, it's a good opportunity to learn. It goes like this. Lecha dodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nekabla. It's the chorus that we used to. Lecha dodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nekabla. Here's the different part. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom umevorach. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom umevorach. We go back to the beginning. Lecha dodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nekabla. Lecha dodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nekabla. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom umevorach. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom umevorach. Now we've caught up with tradition, which is page 27, our psalm for Shabbat. Feel free to join with me. 27. Mizmor shir leyom hashabat, tov lehodod la'Adonai, ulezamer leshimcha elyon, lehagid baboker chastecha, ve'emunatcha balelot, alei asor balei navel, alei higayon bechinor, mizmor shir leyom hashabat, tov lehodod la'Adonai, ulezamer leshimcha elyon, ki simachtani Adonai v'fa'alecha, v'ma'asei yadecha aranein, magadlu masecha Adonai, me'od amku machshevotecha, mizmor shir leyom hashabat, tov lehodod la'Adonai, Ulezamer l'shimcha elyon, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. Yishbar lo yedal chesed le'olam yipin. We conclude the psalm over on page 28 by the arrow. Tzaddik tamar yifrach ke'erez balevanon yizkeh shetulim beveit Adonai v'chatzrot Eloheinu Yafrichu od yenuhavon b'seva tishenim v'rananim yiyu lehagid ki ashar Adonai Tzuri, tzuri, velo havlatabo. Page 29. Adonai malaki ud lavesh, lavesh Adonai ositazar aftikon tevel baltimo. Nachon kisacham eos melamata. Edo techanemnu me'od lehavedcha nava kodesh Adonai liorech yamim. Unfortunately, we are just a bit shy. Is anyone reciting Mourner's Kaddish? Well, we'll do the last two lines together, and maybe we'll get lucky and have somebody come in to be number 10 at the end. Certainly, if you're saying, if you'd like, the last two lines on page 30, we can recite together. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. We can always say those last two lines without a minyan. We're going to go forward right away actually into our evening service, and it is the normal evening service. I will tell you when we get any changes that you'll see when we get to the Amida, where we see Chol HaMoed, Passover, right? That's where we're going to, or Pesach, we're going to add to remind ourselves of the holiday, but this is Shabbat to begin with, and evening in general. So page 39a, if you are able to, please rise as we join together. I almost did what we shouldn't be doing without a minion, so we'll do it this. If you read with me in the English, page 39a, below in the last half, we'll read our bracha of creation. We don't do baruch when we don't have a minion. So page 39a at the bottom. Baruch atah Adonai, our God, sovereign of time and space, whose word brings the evening dusk, whose wisdom opens the gates of dawn, whose understanding changes the day's division, whose will sets the succession of seasons and arranges the stars in their places in the sky, who creates day and night, who rolls light before darkness and darkness from light, who makes day pass into night, who distinguishes day from night. Adonai Tsevaot is your name, living and ever-present God. May your rule be with us forever and ever. Baruch atah Adonai, who brings each evening's dusk. Who mavir yom umehevi laila, mavdil ben yom uven laila, Adonai Tsevaot shemo, el chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, hamari v'aravim. You are welcome to be seated. We go up to page 40, Ahavat Olam, we join together. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amchavta Torah u'mitzvot chukim u'mishpatim otanu limadeta Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shochmeinu u'v'kumeinu Nasiach b'chukecha v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, uv'mitzvotecha le'olam v'hed. Ki heim chayenu v'orech yameinu, v'orech yameinu, uvahem nege yomam v'layla, yomam v'layla. V'ahavadcha al tasir mimenu le'olamim, Baruch ata Adonai, Ohev amo Yisrael. 41 El Melech Neman. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai echad. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Le'olam V'ed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom alavavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'derech uvshochbecha uvkumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot bein eitnecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha. We read in the English together on the left side. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all that is yours. These words that I command you this day shall be taken to heart. Teach them again and again to your children. Speak of them when you sit in your home, when you walk on your way, when you lie down, and when you rise up. Bind them as a sign upon your hand and as a symbol above your eyes. Inscribe them upon the doorposts of your home and on your gates. We turn over to page 44. As I always like to point out, these words remind us of our Passover story. It takes on extra meaning when we're in the midst of the Passover holiday, as we remind ourselves of how how the people crossed the Red Sea, and Miriam led them in celebration and song with timbrels in hand, in joyous, with a sense of joy, rather, that they are free from slavery in Egypt. We recall that every evening and every Friday night in particular when we sing it together, the Micha Mocha words that come straight from that passage, those passages from our Torah. So let's join together, 44 at the top. Umalchuto beratzon kiblu alehem Moshe u'Miriam u'vnei Yisrael l'cha'anu shira b'simcha rabba v'yamru chulam mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai mi chamocha nedar ba'kodesh Nohorati lo seifele Malchutecha ra'uvanecha Bokea yam lifnei Moshe Ze'eli anu v'yamru Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed V'ne'emar ki fada Adonai et Yaakov Uge'alo miyad chazak mimenu Baruch atah Adonai Gal Yisrael. Page 45, you'll find Hashkivenu, our prayer for shalom, for peace. We certainly need extra prayers for shalom in the world today, without a doubt. So page 45, let's join together in the English on the left side of the page. Allow us, Adonai, our God, to sleep peacefully. Awaken us to life, O Sovereign. Spread over us your canopy of peace. Restore us with your good counsel and save us for the sake of your name. Shield us. Remove from us enemies, pestilence, sword, starvation, and sorrow. Remove the evil forces that surround us. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings, for you, God, watch over and deliver us, and you, God, are sovereign, merciful, and compassionate. Ensure our going and coming for life and peace, now and forever. May you spread over us your canopy of peace. Baruch atah Adonai, who spreads the canopy of peace over us, over all the people of Israel, and over Jerusalem. Ushmor tzeitenu uvo'enu l'chaim u'l'shalom yatav yad olam ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha baruch atah Adonai haporei sukat shalom aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael v'al Yerushalayim. Page 46, you'll find Vishamru. We rise as we join together in this passage for Shabbat, reminding us of the sign of Shabbat as a symbol of our connection to God and the mitzvot and the commandments. 46. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat Lidorotam berito lam vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat Lidorotam berito lam beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti leolam Oti leolam vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berito lam ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim v'et ha'aretz v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berito lam uvayom hashvi shavat v'yinafash Shavat v'yinafash, Shavat v'yinafash, v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berito lam. Again, as we still do not have a minyan, we skip over to page 47 where you'll find the silent Amida for this evening. Again, we do acknowledge Passover as well as Shabbat. When you get to page 50, you'll see on Rosh Chodesh and Chol HaMoed, that little print, we add those words in Hebrew or in English, whatever your fancy, with the selection of on Pesach or on certainly the festival of Matzot. So feel free to, as always, to use this time for your own personal thoughts and meditations to add to the words on the page 47 through 52. Torn together the bottom of 52. Ohose shalom bimromav huyase shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Yahase shalom, Yahase shalom, shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. Yahase shalom, Yahase shalom, shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. Yahase shalom, Yahase shalom, shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. Yahase shalom, Yahase shalom, shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. Yahase shalom, Yahase shalom, shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. V'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imeru. Amen. We turn back in our Siddur to page 173. 173. There you will find our Mishaberach, our prayer for healing. And as always, we sing our Debbie Friedman and Dora Settle words to our Mishaberach, but certainly we add our extra prayers for the well-being of people in need, whether it's spiritual, physical, or emotional health, and most definitely for healing in our world. We need a lot of healing in our world for sure, in general. So as always, if you have a name to add, we will go around and do that this evening. As we prepare for our Mishaberach, we keep in our thoughts Hanan HaKohen ben Sima, Michal bat Devora, Shulamit bat Gittel, Yitzchak ben Gittel, Yisraela bat Tzipora, Devora bat Avraham Vasara, Elizabeth Alfieri, Victor Alfieri, Matthew Ash, Alan Berghauser, Bonnie Carlton, Natalie Kogan, Megan Contigno, Michelle Kramer, Barbara Feingold, Bruce Fine, Gittel Glasser, Suzanne Gott, Francis Haber, Arlene Hoffman, Nadine Hyman, Peter Jacobson, Joan Klepp, Mike Kadetich, Michael Kraus, Tom LeBlanc. Can I take you off? Thank you. Yay! I love taking people off. Hannah Lippman, Joel Lowenstern, Rivka Markowitz, Marjorie Morstein, Susan Aller, Bernie Rowe, Devorah Rubenstein, Genevieve Sanders, Harriet Siegel, Esther Wiener, Mary Beth White, and any names we add at this moment. We keep them in our thoughts and all those in need, whether named or unnamed. And we turn to page 173, the far left side of the page. We join together. Mishe beirach avotenu mekor habaracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishe beirach imotenu mekor habaracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. Refuah shlema to all who are in need. We before we turn back to actually Aleinu, we're going to turn in a moment here to our Oh, I never know where the page number is. Hold on a second. I gotta make sure I know where the page number is. Page 63 should be the page number. We don't have to go very far. You will see that we will count the Omer in just a minute. But before we do that, just a quick thought before we go into the Omer and the counting of the day and then our conclusion of our service. And yes, there is a lot of treats in the back. Since we're little, that means there's even more treats in the back. So, yeah, well, if you understand. All right, so the traditional text of the Haggadah, which is based on the Mishnah, right? So we just had our Seders, and it's based on, where's the Haggadah, the form of the Haggadah come from? The Haggadah is the book that we use that has the order of all of the things in the Seder, right? So if you are familiar with it, of course, it's going to tell the story of our liberation from slavery in Egypt, but it actually bears little resemblance to the story that we read in the Torah that we've been studying, where we find the actual story of the Exodus. And unfortunately, David knows we weren't able to read that from the Bima unfortunately, on Thursday. We didn't quite have our minyan. But that would have been what we've been studying. And this Shabbat, we study a different portion, actually. But I want to go back to something from the Seder before we leave it for our worship tomorrow. Anybody remember what the Seder begins with? It begins with something that's very curious, right? It begins with the verse, Aramei Oved Avi, Vayered Mitzrayma, Vayagor Sham Bimte Ma'at. It translates roughly, my ancestor was a wandering Aramean or a nomad from a place called Aram. That's how the Seder actually starts telling the story, right? That's the beginning of if you go look, I don't know if any of our Haggadot are out there, but even in the most embellished ones, that's really the formal beginning. We start with, my ancestor was a nomad, right? A wanderer. And with only a few people, he went down to Mitzrayim, he went down to Egypt, and he lived there. And there my ancestors became a great nation, mighty and numerous. The Egyptians were cruel to us, and they forced us to work for them as slaves. We cried out, and Adonai, the God of our ancestors, heard our cry and took note of our painful life. With an outstretched arm, with awesome power, and with incredible signs of divine wonder, in other words, the plagues, Adonai took us out of Mitzrayim. God took us out of Egypt. All right, so we start with, my ancestor was a nomad from a place called Aram. Who are we talking about? Who was our ancestor that we're talking about? Abraham. Very good. Abraham. So our Seder goes back to Abraham. Whose name did you not hear in this paragraph that you might have expected? Moses. Technically, although our modern Haggadot do this, in the Mishnah and technically the old way of doing, guess whose name is not in the Haggadah at all? Moses. Why? Who would be if you had to say, who's the hero of the Passover story? Moses. We would all probably say Moses, right? So when Haggadah was being put together, very good. When the Seder was being developed as a remembrance of this great, amazing feat of leaving Egypt, Moses' name was purposely left out. Because the fear was that we wouldn't focus on God's great and wonderful power. Who would we focus on? Moses, who's our physical hero, our guy. Yay, Moses, right? Right? Uh-oh, wait a minute. Okay. Well, he was left out because he was not allowed to go in there. Well, I don't think it has anything to do with it because we're not celebrating the Promised Land specifically. We're really telling the story of our history in leaving Egypt. That's the focus. And you are absolutely right, though. Of course, we are not to stop there. That's one of the important pieces. And that's possibly why we don't just focus on Moses, because the Seder isn't just about thinking back to history. Those of you who are here, I had you take the bottle in hand and we passed it around, right? It is also about redemption. It's also about where do we go from after the shores of the Red Sea. We journey to Sinai. We get the Torah. We keep walking. It's about our redemption eventually. We are taught to look at the history of being redeemed from slavery in Egypt, but also how do we achieve redemption today? How do we redeem the world from the ills that are plaguing it? How do we move forward that way, right? So that's really, when we're at our Seder, we're not just supposed to be focused with blinders on about the past. We use the past as a jumping off point to think about the enslavements, the pharaohs, the things that plague our world today. And if we don't do that during the Passover holiday, we're missing out a whole lot. And as you suggested, the rabbis were very conscious of wanting to make sure God certainly is the focus, and that this idea of redemption is the focus, and that was much more than just one guy who stood up and said, let my people go. And we know that. How do we know? Who else was involved in the story? Aaron. Aaron was the spokesman. Miriam is credited with the wells of water, with helping the people celebrate, which was extremely important. It's great to say, hey, and we're leaving, but she helped to get everybody on board as they were leaving. And to her credit, the water that they drank as they were journeying past the Red Sea, right, into the unknown land, that was to her credit. Who else do we maybe not think about, but we should? The guy that stepped in the water first, according to Midrash, it was Nachshon, right? The men from the tribe of Nachshon, from the tribe of Judah, who, when Moses, is sitting there, God, please, Egyptians are behind us. We're trying to pass through the water. What do we do? There's no, and God says, stop praying to me. Go forward. And who's the first guy who said, okay, I'm going? It's according to the tradition, according to Midrash, it's Nachshon. So Nachshon walked through. That's when God said, all right, well, we're partners in this. I'll help you out too. Let's do it. So we partner. What other names or maybe we don't think about, but should make sure that we talk about? We did it at the Seder. I always make sure we do it at the Seder here. There's some women in particular. Miriam's one of them. Do you remember that? Yes. Zipporah. Good. Who is Zipporah? Who's that? Your mom knows her stuff. Moses' wife. Well, somebody had to stand by him and give him some strength and help him get where he needed to go, right? And she held down the fort, by the way, when he went back to Egypt. She stayed and was taking care of the kids, if you will, right? The family that he had built while he goes back on this mission for God. So she's a very important silent character, perhaps. Another one. Who else? How about his beginning? Think about Moses' beginning. His mother, Yocheved. Yocheved ends up being the nursemaid, thanks to Miriam, and she ends up being the nursemaid for this Moses, who has been drawn out of the water. By whom? Who drew him out of the water? Not Miriam. The princess, right? The Pharaoh's daughter. Her name is Batya, by the way, according to tradition. Batya. So, and by the way, Batya means daughter of Yah, God, right? Right? Yeah. So she's the Pharaoh's daughter. She saved this poor little boy. So if she hadn't done that and looked to the side as to what would have happened, Moses wouldn't have been around to do all of that, right? So her character is very important. The ones I was thinking about, Pharaoh's decree that if any of the children that are born, right, any of the boys, get rid of them, throw them in the river, get rid of them, right? We're going to kill all the baby boys of the Hebrews. And, but of course the midwives, and they're in our text, they're in our story, they are actually in you'll find them in the Mishnah too, and in the Haggadah. They stood up and said, sorry, Pharaoh, wink, 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 right? Those women are just, they'd have babies before we can get there. So Shifra and Puah, those were the two Egyptian nursemaids, midwives rather, who said no. We're not going to stand up for that. We're not going to do what Pharaoh wants us to do. It's wrong. So they were righteous, right? They were righteous non-Jews, non-Hebrews, if you will, who helped to further the story. We might imagine without them, there might not have been a Moses being born. So these are all these characters that are so much a part of the story, and we tend to kind of look at, and by the way, there's a lot more of the Miriam in particular. The Midrash we looked at on Thursday about the fact that when this decree came down, Amram Moses and Miriam and Aaron's father said, well, listen, honey, I'm not going to be with you anymore. I'm divorcing you because we don't want to have kids anymore because the Pharaoh is going to kill all of them, so I'm leaving you. And all of the men did the same that he did. And who, according to the Midrash, Miriam, a little Miriam goes back and says, Dad, this isn't the right thing to do. Don't listen to Pharaoh and don't hurt our mom and all of society by not staying with mom, just because this is what the Pharaoh is threatening to do. And according to the Midrash, the commentary, what does he do? Amram, he remarries, if you will. He had divorced the wife. He remarries Yocheved, and that's when he gives birth to They give birth to Moses, by the way. So without Miriam saying, Dad, that's not the right thing to do, in the Midrash anyway, there would be no Moses. So to go back at the end here, when you think about the Passover story, the message, of course, is it is so much more than just one big guy named Moses. It is so many more people involved with this experience. And we know that in redeeming the world, in redemption from our enslavements, it's going to take a lot more than just one of us standing up. It takes a village, if you will. It takes a lot of different moving parts and people to help make the world the way it needs to be. And it's a wonderful way to look at the story that we studied on Wednesday night and Thursday night. We'll continue to study through the holiday. Just sharing that with you. Keep it in your back pocket for future Passovers, but remember the little guy, so to speak. It's an important message. And of course, above the entire story is God. And that we do have God cheering us on and saying, you can do this. Work together, make it happen. And I'm a partner with you in that process. So keep that in mind as we turn to page 63, where we will stand, if you're able to count our Omer. We are in the period of counting from the second day of Passover all the way till Shavuot. We actually pointed out last night when we started counting that this is important for you guys and for Jonah. If you're wondering how many days to the end of school, the last day of school is Shavuot. So we are now it's about a 48-day countdown, right? From Shavuot. Yeah, I know, no one's excited about that. From now until the very end, not days of school, but days in general. You can extrapolate how many days of school there actually are, but basically you guys got about a little less than 7 weeks now to do it. Yeah, don't remind you. Page 63, let's join together in the English. We'll do the blessing in the Hebrew, and we'll count our day on the next page. It's the second line on the next page. So let's read 63. I am about to fulfill the mitzvah of counting the Omer. As it is written in the Torah, you shall count from the eve of the second day of Pesach, when an Omer of grain is to be brought as an offering, 7 complete weeks. The day after the 7th week of your counting will make 50 days. The bracha, Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav vitzivanu al sfirat ha-omer. We turn to the next page, the second line, as we begin the second night of the Omer. Hayom Shnei Yamim La Omer. Today marks the second day. We're moving into the new day. It's the second day of the Omer, moving into the third day of our Passover holiday. Just as we count the days for the next 48 days left, right? We remind ourselves to make each day of life count as well. With that, I'll ask if you'll remain standing. Turn back in your Siddur to page 56. Jonah, where'd your sister go, Alice? Quick, come open up the ark for me if you don't mind. For Aleinu, page 56, we join together. Aleinu leshabeach la'adon hakol la'teit gedula liotzer breshit shelo asanu kagoye haratzot v'lo samanu kimishpachot ha'adam shelo sam chelkeinu kahem v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam v'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shehu Notei Shamayim v'Yosed Haaretz, U'Moshav Yikaro B'Shamayim Mima'al, U'Shchinatu Zo, Begov Hei Meromim, Hu Eloheinu Ein Od, Emet Malkeinu Efes Ulato, Kakatuv B'Torato, V'yadata hayom v'hashevota el levavecha, Ki Adonai hu ha'Elohim, B'shamayim ima'al, V'al haaretz, Mitachat einod, Al kein nekavel Adonai Eloheinu liot me'er teretzecha. Ki hamalchut shelcha hi olamei ad timloch bechavod kakatu b'toratecha Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed v'nemar v'haya Adonai lamelech al kol ha'aretz vayom hahu yeh Adonai echad Ushemo echad, Ushemo echad. You are welcome to be seated. Again, we don't have a minyan, so we will not recite a full mourner's Kaddish, but if you we'll turn to the last two lines on page 58, and as we recite this evening, we keep in our thoughts Alfred Gleisch, Anna Balban, Albert Swadden, Joseph Goldstein, Frederick Bornstein, Harold Perper, Hinda Honigman, Ruth Berkowitz, Dora Fayansky-Lurie, Sam Denham, Clement Dunius, Daniel Marks, Helen Fishman, Sarah Pugatsky, Louis Allen, Shirley Hoffman-Lasser. Anyone else did I get a name? No? Okay. So last two lines of the mourner's Kaddish is on 58. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. I'm just going to do a few quick announcements. Please remember we have service tomorrow at 10. There's no school on Sunday morning. Next Thursday, we have our 8th Day Festival morning service at 10 a.m. with our Yisker service as well. So hopefully we'll be able to make a minyan on that day as we close out our holiday. And don't forget that the office will be closed on actually the 8th and the 9th for the 7th and 8th day of Passover. Please put on your schedule April 12th, our Yom HaShoah commemoration program. Yom HaShoah is Tuesday night, but we're going to do on Sunday, April 12th, a couple days before our Holocaust Remembrance Commemoration Program. We're going to be exploring displaced persons camps, and it'll be held from 10:15 to 11:45. Our older kids will participate in that from the religious school. This is a joint program between the temple and the synagogue, so it'll be here. We've done it now for 3-4 years, and the temple is joining us the last couple of years, which is lovely as a community. We will light some candles, do some memorial prayers, have some words of thought, and then we'll be studying a little bit about displaced persons camps and their effect of the Holocaust, and then have a chance to have about 30-40 minutes of discussion amongst the tables. In the back, we'll be in the social hall for that. So if you're not familiar with it, it's really a lovely program, a great way of remembering and learning. So keep that in mind. Men's Club is heading to the Greenville Swamp Rabbits hockey game that afternoon at 3:05. I think tickets are still available. And Age to Perfection is next week, again the 16th the week after. Actually, the program will be about service dogs for vets, so that's kind of cool. And apparently, they'll be demonstrating, speaking, and showing off the dogs' capabilities. So I guess we'll get some of the dogs here. And there's a sisterhood meeting on April 19th with a meeting and arts and crafts afternoon on April 19th. Wednesday night, April 22nd, we're going to be joining, our religious school students will be here already, but we're going to be joining for a Yom Ha'atzmaut Israeli-themed celebration, or a cafe, I guess, if you will, that'll be held, it'll be around 5:30 to 7, but our kids will be here normal time. So they'll help with getting set up and eating and making their own dinner. They're going to help make their own dinner, and then by doing so, they'll help with the rest of the program that night from, again, 5:30 to 7. We'll have some, I think we're planning to have some birthday cake for Israel. Knowing it's still wartime, it's a difficult time to celebrate Israel Independence Day, but an important day to remind ourselves of the importance of Israel in our lives. So keep that in mind, and certainly giving support to our brothers and sisters in Israel. Sunday, April 26th is our annual meeting, 12:15. Officially, the meeting business will be at 12:30. You can look on that. And then this is really important. Sunday, May 3rd, we're going to present an evening of Broadway featuring Jewish composers, a silent auction from 5:30, and a silent auction. All of this will be from 5:30 to 8 on May 3rd. You can look in your bulletin for ticket prices and reserve your spot online or call the office if you have any questions. We're looking for silent auction items, by the way, upscale, nice ones, not your schmata from your closet, but something nice if you have, or a service that you can do, that's important too. You can go online and do that as well. There's a downloaded form that you can do. And proceeds are in part going to help us to become a little more ADA compliant here and ensure our facility is available to everyone. And that's one reason I'm down here, right? I like to be able to be down here. We like to be able to make sure we can make our Bima accessible. So that's part of that. Finally, there's a way into May 31st. There's a men's club, Greenville Drive. You'll hear about that. And there's also volunteers needed for Habitat for Humanity in July. So keep that in mind. No God talk on this Sunday. Fred does have his Hebrew class, and he will have his normal Torah study before Yontiv starts again Tuesday night. But he'll have that at 5:30. We're going to give Rachel a pass because it's her birthday yesterday, I think, Rachel Motro. So Rachel's usually here on Friday nights, or very often. So we'll give her a pass tonight. I hope she's enjoying a birthday weekend. Other birthdays, Peter Brenner, Barbara Siegel, Richard Zander, who I know is away, obviously, with family for the holiday, and Jeffrey Gaines. So all of them are coming with birthdays this week. So please make sure you say hello to them. We are going to go in the back for a little kiddush and motzi over matzah. But there are some treats back there as well. And thank you for coming and at least helping to try to make a minyan. We pretty much do this is one of the rare occasions we haven't gotten our minyan, but we did our best. So with that, a little bim bam bim 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 bam bim 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 bam bim bam bim bam bim bam bim 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 bam bim 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 bam. Shabbat shalom, hey Shabbat shalom, hey Shabbat 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 shalom. Shabbat shalom, hey Shabbat shalom, hey Shabbat 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 shalom. Shabbat shalom. We'll head again in the back. There is actually good wine left. If you like a little glass of wine, there's some good wine left from the Seder. You don't have to get just cough medicine or grape juice. That's pretty nice. No complaints on that one. We'll just do a quick motzi, and I do know there's a bunch of treats back there. So Shabbat shalom to everybody. A Chag Sameach for Passover, Chol Moed, and I'll see you back in a second.